I would love us to talk about the security of our presidential candidates. We are seeing a lot of movement. We have our politicians moving in different places. We've had, cases like when Raila's chopper was actually attacked. Was it in AROKA? Yeah. It's very unfortunate that things like this happen. And the reason why I want us to talk about this is because it looks like people don't realize just how dangerous it is to attack a presidential candidate, especially when we are talking about the two main leading lights, and that is, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. On top of the fact that they are presidential candidates, they're also very close to power, like Raila is, and William Ruto is actually the vice president of the country. Tom, I just want you to paint the picture, to our viewers of how dangerous it can be if anything were to happen to either Ruto or Raila or a presidential candidate for that matter, and why it is so important that no one gets to attack them or anything like that, because literally it will touch on the security of this country way beyond even the leaders themselves.
Well, before we deal with what may happen, I think the first thing should be how our presidential candidates by themselves, how should they manage
themselves? Yes.
The most ideal purpose is that Kenya has been a very good country since I think, even I would say President Moi, because when we had the first multi-party election, when actually we were coming in with the first election that Kibaki won, I think Electoral Commission then had given orders that all presidential candidates, after nomination, they were given security. What I do not know is what kind of security they are given, whether they are trained, our general service unit team, or they just pick randomly. Coming to the other elections, we have had candidates who have been part of government. And so when they run for election, they have got these securities around them. The most visible one now is the one that we have, where we have Ruto, William, and Honorable Raila Odinga. Of late, Raila has got a security team that has been with him, and Ruto, Vice President, the Deputy President Ruto also has. Somehow is who manages what at what time. Like if I start with the flight incident, that one, the error was on the officers on the ground. Because the officers on the ground were not alert. So before sometimes you blame the officers, the Kenya police, that is uniformed police officers. There is need also to be knowing that there is a very quiet police department which needs to collect intelligence. And they have money that is not even monitored. It would always be good before you make any comment if we realize what information did they give out. So there are these people who should be giving out an alert that this is what is going to happen. So the regular police are just people who should be coming either to curb or reinforce or repulse. But in Kenya, sometimes this one fails because when the blame game comes, it's the OCPD and OCS who are given transfers. You understand? So
Yes.
the management of our system is about reactions. It's not
once something has happened.
Yes.
We need to take care of it before anything happens.
Yeah, we are no longer proactive.
Now let's talk to Kenyans as well, because all these things are being done by the common wananchi, who might be told, you know, go and heckle, go and do that. Could you just talk to them and tell them just how delicate this kind of thing is, so that they don't find themselves in this?
You see, about Kenyans is about our society. Society is made in the hands of leaders. And you can't talk to ordinary Kenyans and refer about the leaders.
Talk to the leaders so that they influence the people.
Yes, because the leaders are the ones who have the money. The leaders are the ones. No man would ever go out to work with somebody unless he said. So what civility do we have
as leaders? Now,
and before Ruto is heckled, what do you want to achieve with that? Before Raila is heckled, what purpose does that add in your leadership?
Okay.
Those
so
are the queries.
As leaders, we need to change. Now, talking about leaders, Tom, that actually brings me to a very important part. That right now, we're having campaigns going on in the country. And I need our leaders to understand that what they say can actually be detrimental to our security, you know? For example, if you just go back to that time when Cleophas Malala was talking about the police, and he was saying, you know, the ones who've gone, you know, to school should be, you know, taken and being given, you know, those big jobs, but askari ni mtu wa kubeba bunduki tu, you know, so we can just give that job to anyone. And you know, it came out really bad. This is someone who is also being protected by the same askari he's talking about. And just to move away even from him, this just tells you how careless our politicians can be. And we need to understand that what we say, especially right now that we're heading towards the election, can be very dangerous and can you know, attract bad emotions that could actually, you know, lead to violence, or, you know, the kind of things that we see in the campaign rallies. What can we tell our leaders about what they say?
You know, Millicent, sometimes from where I sit and with my profession, sometimes we don't react. Because when you utter words, we try to look at circumstances and why you are saying so. And you clearly mentioned Malala is one of the people who enjoys the privilege of a police officer. What I don't know, you didn't tell me earlier, I would have looked at Malala's data, whether he has a criminal case or whether he has a case in court or not, or is facing any investigation. Then you'll find that either he was talking for himself, or he was careless in using the language to convince the masses to vote for him, which needs to go to another department to measure. You see, the worst thing in this country is that we wait until things happen. We are not steadfast or at fingertips with whatever somebody utters. To call him on board and find out, was it just jokingly? What did you mean by this? So in those kind of an angle, you don't blame the person who talks. You also don't blame the police. But is what responsibility? Because those are things that we have a Secretary of State in this country. We have a minister, a cabinet Secretary of State, who should be monitoring those and calling meetings to review and reevaluate. Because in two dimensions, Malala will be sending a message, one positive, one negative. The positive part of it is that he would be telling us this is why we have too many thieves, because they have underrated the police system. in a way that they know even if they are conducting any investigation, they will not achieve any purpose. What Malala fails to know is that work is not about certificate, it's about intelligence, the IQ of a person. And the other thing is how careless are we reached to the extent that a leader can talk and is not meant to into account.
Yeah,
you know, there are certain words that we utter in this country. If you are in first world countries, you will not even be allowed to contest. Because those are civilized nations. They have seen war, they have seen power. And you see, that's why, for the first time in this country, we are running an election where iko matusi kidogo, but at least there's an ideology coming out. Whether the person who is bringing it does not conform to that ideology, but there is an ideology in the market where a bright team can tap and move on with it. So when you hear our leaders talking the way the likes of Malala are talking, and you see this is a person who is running for a governor, it tells you how lost of purpose we have reached. And the only challenge, good countries, Millicent, are made of good civil service. Investigation, you can even utter a word and I just call you as the head of the station. And I tell you, Mheshimiwa, the other day you talked like this. This is what happened. Yesterday you talked like this. I don't know what may happen.
Well, we are not going to take chances.
Yes. Again, when it happens, now don't blame us. That person will never repeat it. So it's about management.
But the whole thing is we have to be accountable. That's it.
That's what. That's why even the officer in charge should be able to call you, because he wants to make you accountable
for
every utterance that you are making. You see, I always see in a political rally, there's a lot of cameras. You probably only see, you think that those are all pressmen. No, there are even security agents there. The only thing is that I don't know what that message, after listening to it, what do they do? Is it kept in the archives? Because those are things that they should deal with immediately.
Yeah, because if they deal immediately with one person, the rest of the people will learn that we don't.
I would know. Take it for instance.
Yes.
Like right now, we are blaming the deputy president saying, you guys sent thugs to block me to get into Jacaranda. Right now, it's a campaign time. The only thing that can happen is that when there are too many people, you can't apply, and that's why meetings are called. For you to agree which route you'll pass, on that day, that route, any other person should use it. If this has not been done, then I will default the OCPD of the area of Coyote. Because the deputy president is not law. Neither is Babu Wina the law. And if he sent an application late, then it was intentional. The investigation should start with him. Between the two, right now nobody, we have President Uhuru who is not running. So everybody right now is subject to the law. If you want to ride on meetings that are given on the last minute, then please try and talk to President Uhuru to be in attendance. That's the only man who the law permits to go anywhere without order.